Hi, my name is Akshay Khanna. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Creative Crafts, which is a manufacturer and exporter of leather footwear and accessories. Pleasure to be here.
All right, so this is one of the fun things for me because I don't know you, but we are alumni together from the same college, and you reached out to me not for your business but for something else, and I was again, and then as we were talking, you talked about, oh yeah, and my family does this. I'm like, oh, what? That's what? What? So then I got excited, and I'm like, I need to have you on the podcast. So this is great.
I'm absolutely excited to be here. Thank you for that.
Oh my God, you're so very welcome. All right, so the footwear, it's leather import, but we're not going to talk about that yet. So we need to understand who you are, where you're from, and then we'll sit there and get to the business as we get closer and closer. But
sure.
Akshay, definitely tell us, where are you from, and tell us from birth to college, not college now because you're doing your MBA.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I graduated from my MBA. Yes.
Oh, great! Graduate from the MBA. Congratulations! Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. So from birth to college.
Absolutely. So I was born and brought up in Mumbai. It's a western coastal city in India. I have two siblings. Both are brothers. I'm the middle one. I lived a regular life thanks to my beautiful parents, wonderful parents. Did my schooling as well in India. During my teen years, I remember my brothers and I used to frequent our manufacturing unit quite a lot. Like almost every month we used to go there. And I think those visits were the reason I think where I am today, because it was in those visits that I realized that this is a company where I would really like to work, and would love to take my grandfather and father's legacy ahead, since it's a family business. But once I finished high school, I went a different route. I majored in accounting and finance in my undergraduation. Post completion of my undergrad, I joined the largest credit rating company in India as a data governance associate. Worked there for about a year, did not like it very much, realized that that's something I cannot do for my whole life. It was around that time where my company itself, my family business, needed assistance with business development and finding different avenues and markets to increase sales.
Okay. We're going to pause because you gave me a lot of stuff here. Okay. So how old is the family business?
It was actually started by my grandfather in the 1960s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been like more than 5 decades.
Okay, so I'm always fascinated by small businesses. So Massachusetts is known for, we have a lot of small businesses. Overall everywhere in the world, a lot of small businesses, but we are known for family businesses in Massachusetts, which is something I didn't know until I went to a family-owned conference, which they have it here every year, except for the pandemic, obviously. And I was so surprised by all the different things that happen in small businesses. So your grandfather started, so they always say that by the third generation, a small business ends, because the third generation doesn't want it anymore. So your grandfather had it, your dad took it, and then it's you. So there's 3 of the siblings. So do all three of you guys work with the business? And did you want to work with the business?
I think we all are very happy where we are today, honestly speaking. And like you said, we all are in the business and basically just trying to take the baton from our father and move forward.
That was number 1 with the family business that happened, but also the second one where the knowledge that your grandfather had to your father to you like came into States, got your MBA, and then now you're learning all these different skill sets to bring back. Did your brothers get their degrees in the States or in India? And also, how did your parents and your grandparents perceive you? Because now you're coming in with all this knowledge, but they started a business without that knowledge.
Right, I absolutely agree there. So my elder brother has done his master's from the United Kingdoms. Kingdom. My younger brother still, he just done his undergrad some years back.
Okay.
He's working full-time for one of the brands of our company.
Okay.
In terms of expectations, yes, I believe the expectations would be much higher now. I mean, they would expect me to know a lot more and just dive into the business even more hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
That expectation would definitely be there from my father's side, definitely. I mean, in fact, he's the one who invested in my education. So,
well, because that's one of the things I hear so often, where the families they obviously they work hard for you to have a better life, for you to have a lot more that they would have never had. But then you're put in a situation where you're learning. So it's interesting because you have a company in India, you have a brother that got his degree in the UK, and then you have a brother that got a degree in the States. How do you guys have discussions without a major conflict? Because there's 3 different countries at the table now. It's no longer just the fact that the family owns a company that's a global company. It's the fact that there's 3 different clear learnings, hands-on, and 2 different countries in regards of the universities. So how do you guys get to that point of having a consensus of, here's all these different, here's a problem, here are these different ideas, and then now there's a consensus? Because your family, and people always say, I mean, well, at least in the United States, they always say that you don't do business with a family, but you own a family business that's been around for 5 decades. So how do you actually solve a problem, bring all the different ideas without killing the company?
Or killing each other.
Or
of course. It works like any other business. I mean, we all gather around, discuss our ideas, put our ideas across, discuss the pros and cons of everything, and hopefully quarterly reach a general consensus.
Is there any situation where you've had and obviously I don't need to know details, but any situations where the idea was brought to the table and there was no consensus, there was a total disagreement, and who's the person that actually breaks the chain of, we need to get something done? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think this was during the ideation of one of our brands. I think my brother and I were having a huge discussing basically as to what our target audience should be. Mm-hmm. We never reached a conclusion. I don't know. I mean, the conversation was taken back home, went on the whole night. I think the next day my father was just fed up and he just took a decision and he's like, I think we should go with this. So to answer your question, my father has the final say.
When he is no longer in charge of the business, it's going to be the 3 of you. What do you do then? Because you're looking at a lot of small businesses that are either family owned, or they are they have a small group of CEOs, CFOs, they're best friends. You've seen a lot of, I'm sure you've seen and you've read a lot of cases about businesses have broken apart. They started out as best friends, good friends, siblings, and they break apart. There's a company here that's like a big function hall that's here in Massachusetts. It's basically where weddings and proms, everyone knows this place in Randolph, Mass, Lombardo's. And I went to a conference and I was told by one of the speakers how we pay one of our siblings a lot of money to not be in the business. And then a lot of people that were in the room were saying, yes, we do the same. I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. They're like, no, it's not, because if you want the family business to survive, you have to be willing to get family members to sign the paper saying like, you will not open your mouth and we're paying you to not open your mouth or not do anything or not be involved. And I'm like, really? That blows my mind. So when your dad is no longer the head, he's going to get older. The 3 of you guys are going to be apart. What advice? I'm not going to say how you're going to solve it because you're not there yet, but what advice would you give to anyone that is in that situation where, whether it is a friend, whether it's a college classmate or a family member, where you're at the table and you can't come up with a decision? What happens? Because I mean, I can guess on a lot of things that happen, but what you being in that situation and you've seen different scenarios, what would be your best advice for someone that is in the situation right now?
What I would say the best thing would be is to bifurcate activities and create silos in your company. Say for instance, in my case, I am more handling the B2B side. whereas my brothers are handling one brand each. So we try to stay out of each other's way. Of course, we have discussions. Of course, we like put our ideas forward. But in the end, the owner of that silo has the final decision. And that's how we try to stay out of each other's way and continue working accordingly.
I think that's a great thing. I mean, the second you said silo, I'm like, I go, oh wait, silos. But I go, but it is smart, because then you own your project, they own their project.
Right.
You guys are working together, but you have that ownership of that thing that you.
Absolutely.
I think that's amazing. And I think that when people hear the word silo, like I just did, where like you cringe, but then you're thinking, well, of course that makes more sense that way, because everyone is owning something that they're probably best at, versus just taking on something that they're not great at, and then the discussions start to fuel up.
And even if you're not great at it, if you're focused on one thing, you gain skills and you gain competencies in that area, especially. So that's helpful as well.
Where did your grandfather get the idea? Because I mean, so like you're growing up, and so you come into this world, and it's here.
So yeah, I honestly I didn't get a chance to meet my grandfather. He had long gone before I was born. I'm not sure where he got the idea from. I've heard stories about him being very entrepreneurial. He tried multiple different businesses prior to this one, and I think this one just stuck.
Where I mean, you were just discussing the target audience. And mind you, we're going to go back to your childhood as well, but I want to because we're here. You have how many different brands within the? I mean, well, one, how big is the company now, and how many different brands do you have?
So our parent company, where we earn our bread and butter from, is Creative Crafts. That is the export house. Our clients are all across the world. Australia, Japan, United States, a couple, and the European markets are our main target customers.
Okay.
In terms of brands, we've recently, like in the past 5 years, developed 2 new brands to cater to the Indian markets.
Okay.
We've got a men's line called Baron&Bay, and a women's line called under the brand name called Tissr.
Okay.
Yeah, Tissr means woven in French.
I'm sorry, it says what? Tissr means what?
Tissr means woven in French. I think I've already told you this the last time we met. So
yeah. Well, no, the last time we met, but you weren't on the podcast, so you have to explain it for anyone that's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's the 2 brands. So I'm sorry, it's the export. Then you have the 2 brands. You have all the different arms. Who's your primary target audience? So you have a line that's primarily for India, which of course that surprises me only because there's so many international companies that they try to market their own people, and they're like, no, we want American, or we want European, or we want Greece. I mean, they want what's on the other side. The grass is greener on the other side. How are you able to target and market your own people, your own community?
So I can speak about like Tissr initially. These styles have been really successful in the European markets. In terms of those kind of styles being available in India were very limited. So that's where we realized that why not just leverage our existing core competencies and basically provide our products in the Indian market. Initially, we were thinking of targeting women at around the age of 18 to say 35, but we soon realized that that is not the right target audience, considering that our shoes are quality products made of leather. The price range is a little higher, so the expungable income is very less for this kind of target audience. That's exactly why we shifted our focus more on women aged 35 to say 50, and I think that's where we hit the sweet spot. In terms of Baron&Bay, this idea came out of basically seeing these big brands charging exorbitant margins on quality products. Today, shoes are either very cheap and very easy. I mean, you wear them a couple of times and get rid of them, or they're just very expensive to own. So that's where we come in. Providing the quality, providing great materials, and at a greater price point, and keeping basically the retailers and middlemen out of it so that we can give full value to the customer.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that we did talk about when we spoke earlier, was that earlier, like off the podcast, was that I love shoes. I don't know when I became a shoe person. I was that kid that I was always annoyed and surprised that my mother had so many shoes. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of shoes that she has. And but she loves her shoes. And then I don't know when it happened, but it happened where I went to the store and I saw a pair of shoes and I'm like, ooh, and I became a shoe person as well. Now I have a ridiculous amount of shoes that I don't know how it happened.
It's all in the genes.
Yeah, it was all of a sudden it happened. But one of my biggest pet peeves is that, or I'm sorry, it wasn't a pet, look, it is a pet peeve, but I bought these shoes where I love these shoes. I love this maker. I saw them 4 years ago, and I am that person where I saw you 4 years ago, but 4 years from now, will I still want the shoes? So I won't buy it until I absolutely know that I want the shoes, because I like to keep my shoes. And 3 years later, I saw the shoes, they popped up, and I'm like, and the manufacturer is still there. The shoes are highest ratings, great shoe. And I wore them to my aunt's house, showing off my shoes. I'm like, look at my shoes. They're like, they're really cool. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, you kids are just gonna wear them and throw them away. I'm like, I go, no. I'm gonna go to my cobbler. Like I'm gonna go to my cobbler. And she looked at me and she's like, you know what a cobbler is? I'm like, oh, of course I know. Of course I know what a cobbler is. So that's my pet peeve. There are so many shoes out there right now that they're made with plastic that once it's worn down, you have to throw it away. There's no repairing that. There's no cobbler out there that can do that. So how is that helping you guys in this industry that we're like, it's that whole entire burn and churn. Like I buy it, like the ballet slippers, etc. Where for me, I will not touch a shoe if it's not real leather, because I want it to fit to my shoe. Like, I mean, the older it gets, it's contour to your foot, number one. But also, I want to keep going to the cobbler. I want to provide that job for that cobbler. So how is that? What's happening with that? This happening with your industry?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, yes, of course, there are people like you who believe in buying quality products, but there is also a big section who want fast fashion, want to constantly change footwear day in and day out. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. Yes, there is a market for my products as well, and there is a big market for the other products like fast fashion companies like Zara. They're constantly just re-innovating, putting out new styles week in and week out. So including their shoes. Yeah. Every week they have a different shoe, and that shoe is going to last you maybe 10 uses, and it's out of your wardrobe. So
isn't that it's insane? 10 uses. I mean, I wouldn't even put a number on it, because I would just like
I'm just giving an example. It may not be.
But I do like that number, because if you get a bad quality pair of shoes, or even, I mean, I'll just say like a poor quality pair of sandals, it's for the summer. It's the season and it's done. And the season is pretty much 8 to 10 weeks. And then you end up throwing it away, which is it's ridiculous when we are literally when people are wondering about global warming. I'm like, well, these companies are they're producing pollution because we are asking for it.
Right.
Like, so it's like, it's one of those moments where when people were upset when Jeff Bezos and his spaceship went up, but he said after he came down, he goes, thanks to you, Amazon shoppers, you are allowing this to happen. So I mean, I saw it in the newspapers and people are losing their mind. I'm like, but it's true, because every day I see at least 10 Amazon trucks on my street every day, not even once or every day. Yeah. So we are the ones that are creating that. And same thing with the Zaras and the H&Ms, because H&M was the first one that started that, where like burn and churn. Like I go cheap, low quality, inexpensive, low quality clothes. You wash it 2 or 3 times and it starts falling apart.
Starts fading. Yeah.
What is the longevity of your shoes? Because I mean, like, the good leather shoes, a good pair of leather shoes can go down. It could really be handed down to another family member, resold the whole entire thing, because it's like a beautiful old shoe. It's great. And my dad was a tailor in Haiti. And I mean, I appreciate the way the ties are made. I appreciate it. Because he taught me these skill sets. What is the length of a shoe? What is the length that a shoe should last? And I go, and why would I want to buy? Like, why would anyone want to engage with that? Like pay the money for that versus just again getting one of those regular shoes.
I mean, in terms of buying a leather shoe, the best part about it is becomes more and more comfortable over the years. It takes more of it basically fits your foot even better over the years because it's skin in the end, so it's malleable, and it basically comes around your foot in a way that I don't know how to, it's just better over years. It's like an aged wine, to be honest.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Oh my God, you're the second person that used well, you used the wine, but I was listening to a gentleman that was from Iran, and he owned a rug store here in Massachusetts. I think you may know him because he goes to Babson often.
Okay.
And it was funny because he said that he goes, we make rugs. I go, with like beautiful, gorgeous rugs. He goes, I go, yes, they're expensive. I go, but we take quality, time, it's the colors, it's not dyed. Like, and we take like the old school like fruits and that get like really blended in there to make the rug. And you will have this rug for 10 lifetimes, not one, but 10 lifetimes.
Yeah.
And someone asked him, he's like, and then I go, well, yeah, but a rug versus like, a Monet, like what would you get? And without missing a beat, he said, he goes, you know what? He goes, you're right. He goes, a Monet is beautiful. He goes, but you can't make love on a Monet. And I'm like, I go, bravo, good answer. So it was just like so funny, the test of time.
Yeah, and in terms of longevity of products, it obviously depends on how you use it, how you take care of it, because leather it's a very it's a delicate material. So the more you take care of it, the better, the longer it lasts. And if I had to put a number of years, I would say it should last for at least 7 to 10 years if you take good care of it.
7 to 10 years. That's amazing. I mean, could you imagine a pair of shoes, 7 to 10 years if you take care of it?
Yeah.
That's
of
amazing.
course, if you use it, the more you use it, if you use it daily, it goes down the years. But if you use it as a normal shoe, like for example, people like you who have multiple shoes and you're not wearing one shoe every day, that pair of footwear can last for at least 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going back to your family, how was it growing up in India when your family is fully in a business? So you're at home. I mean, like, but how was that childhood? Because are you involved in the business even as a child, knowing everything that's going on? Are you able to like separate yourself from that? Like, I go, talk to me about how it was growing up in an entrepreneurial ecosystem within your family.
I mean, it didn't really play much of a factor in my childhood. I lived a very normal life. My parents kept me going to school, kept me away from all the business woes that were going on. It was during the teenage years where I myself started I was more interested in understanding what my father's up to, and started going, like I mentioned before, started going to the factory, learning about the product, learning what that machine does, what is this used for, like just going about understanding the process. Yep. Other than that, I think in terms of being brought up in a business environment, I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I would like to start my own. I mean, why I did join this business, and I also would like to start something of my own eventually, is because I've seen my father work day in and day out hard and bear the benefits of it, of being a businessman. So I think that's what got me in the same thought process.
When you were you grew up in an entrepreneurial world, your MBA is in an entrepreneurial school. It's known, Babson is known for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But I'm sure you've encountered students that want to be entrepreneurs, but they're not willing to do the work that's behind the entrepreneurship. There are people right now that have gotten furloughed, laid off. They are in a job that they don't enjoy and they want to actually try to find something else. They want to start something. They want to be part of their own thing. What advice would you tell them in regards of where do they start? Where do they go from that? Because you're basically on both sides where you want to start your own, but you're in one. And so someone may say to you like, well, why would you want to start something? You already have it. it's already it's already made for you. So what would you say to the person that's looking at you and thinking and scratching their head thinking, but it's already made for you? And why would you want to start your thing? And also, what advice would you give to someone that is looking to do something? They're just being hit in all the different directions. The person that, but I get a paycheck, I have insurance, I have health insurance, I'm not scared. And then the person's like, I'm scared because of the pandemic, I have nothing. What do I have to lose? So advice to all of that, please.
Sure. See, I'm in this footwear industry. My whole family has been in this industry since 50 years. Mm-hmm. I'm a strong believer in not putting all eggs in one basket. Biggest reason I've come doing my MBA here and trying to at least learn something and work here for a while is to get more ideas, understand where I could diversify my business and basically just diversify risk. Mm-hmm. And I feel innovation is something that is very, very important in any business, because if you lack innovation, competitors are going to come and kill you. Yep. That's the reason I would also like to diversify and find different avenues, even though I have an established family business. Yep. In terms of the people who want to start something, I mean, guys, just go for it. It's awesome. I mean, the effort you put in is proportionate to the rewards you reap. Unlike the corporate world, I mean, you can put a lot of effort in the corporate world and not really get what you deserve. And to be honest, if you're hardworking and persistent, I see no reason why you should fail. Of course, not every company, not every project is going to succeed. But you just gotta, I guess, learn from your failures and move on.
That was just so well said and just so nice and succinct. I like that. Very, very good.
Thank you.
2020 was supposed to be an epically amazing year for so many people. It was supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, because again, I mentioned, other than the fact that I was worried about someone getting sick and everyone in my family was fine. It was a good year. It was a calming year. Mm-hmm. It was a relaxing year. I worked hard. I worked harder than anything else because I own my own business, but I work from home, so it wasn't a problem. I'm an international kid. We weren't allowed to go outside and play, so being stuck in my house was like my childhood all over again. So that didn't bother me. How was it for you and your family, because you are running a business, and it's conducive to people coming in and touching and feeling it and buying it, but yet we're in a pandemic and everything is shut down, but people are buying. So when you guys start hearing the buzz of what was happening, how did your family unit talk about it? And then as the months went by, there were like 15 months plus of this pandemic, and it's up down. I mean, peaks and valleys of it. It's high, it's low, it's high, it's low, it's high, it's low. In India, you guys were doing great, and then you guys got hit really, really, really hard. So with all that happening, when you started when the pandemic started, so now where it is now, how did your family even deal with all of this? I mean, there was like so much noise, excitement because it's a brand new decade, and then tell me how the year was for all of you.
It was crazy, to say the least. Personally, I actually started my MBA in 2019, and COVID hit right after my first semester. So everything went 100% online. I shifted back to Mumbai from Boston just to be with family during the pandemic initially. I think that was it was awesome. My elder brother gave birth to his first son. I became
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was really, really good to be there for. In terms of the business, we were, I wouldn't lie, we were hit pretty badly. Our B2C orders completely dried up, considering the fact that the whole country was on lockdown. No one was going out. No one really needed leather footwear, to be honest. Yes, people were buying Nikes and sports shoes, but not really on the dress side. So we did, and also our export took a hit as well. I think about 30% of our revenues were lost in those years. We honestly were thinking very hard as to how to continue engaging the customer, how to stay relevant in these times. Honestly, there was not much we could do, but we thought a lot, and we decided to come up with the Repair Your Shoe project.
Okay.
It basically worked like a mechanic shop where our customers mailed us their damaged shoes. We did a diagnosis and sent them a quote. In terms of revenue, yes, that did not really hit the mark, of course, but it helped us keep engagement with our clients. And I think that was really helpful, because just keeping constant communication with your clients, even though you're not being able to sell a product to them, is very, very important.
Yeah, I agree with you so wholeheartedly, because I'm a runner, and I would run around my neighborhood to see who's still open and who's creative. And there's the stores, literally, this is one store that I will never, ever go into ever again, because the sign was so big, is like, support your small businesses. If you don't, your neighborhoods will die. And yet they were never open.
Oh,
they were never open, and they didn't. And when I say they were never open, there was no e-commerce, there's no nothing. They didn't give us an option to help them or support them, but they complained. And I was like, well, you can't just do that. But then there was like a store that was right next door to me that her name is Heather, and her store is Seaside Allure. And it's just like she sells other people's, she's like, it's a vendor. I mean, it's like, it's a women's store. I mean, I think they could have men's things, but it's primarily a women's store. And she had no foot traffic. The store was closed. She had all this inventory because it was the beginning of the year. So she had all this inventory, and she's like, what am I going to do? So she bought lots of slippers, like a lot of, and not just any slippers, but not flip-flops, but like nice, beautiful slippers. And she went and she sent herself and her interns would start looking to see people that are doing good things. So the storekeeper, the nurses, the teachers that are teaching online, and she would gift them a slipper. So she'd go take a picture of them, and then with the slippers. Nice. And then other people would start nominating. So look, with you, where you're like, come and bring in your old slippers, or your old shoes.
Yeah.
They were just like saying, like, you know what, let's just like, I go, we want to sit there and take your shoes off. We want you to be comfortable in our slippers because you've done a great job. And they were relevant. And so when they opened, their store leaps and bounds was making so much more money than any other stores around. And everyone's like, how did that happen? It's like, we stayed relevant throughout the entire pandemic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did that help you as well? Where people, I mean, well, one, what did people think of that? And did people bring their shoes?
Yes, I mean, we got multiple customers sending us, I mean, heaps of shoes, to be honest. Like they're sitting at home, they don't need their shoes, like might as well get them repaired. So
yeah,
then like bags full of footwear to us, and we complied.
That's amazing. And how many of those people do you think converted to, oh, you know what, I'm getting things that are repaired, I kind of need a new pair?
I don't have a number on that, to be honest, but I would say I think 20% of them bought a new pair of footwear after a few months.
During a pandemic, that's not a bad thing.
Very good.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, because some people got zero.
Yeah, exactly.
They got zero.
Yeah.
The foot industry has changed so dramatically. The family-owned dynamics of a business has changed dramatically. So I'm gonna need two answers for this one, because we're going after two major components. So let's start with the family-owned business. As I mentioned earlier, the person that started the company, maybe and possibly the son and daughter, and then maybe the third generation, because that's when it's just a fray, but it usually doesn't go past the third generation.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the case? I mean, look, again, I can assume many things, but why do you think that's the case? And what do people need to do to fix this? Because someone that is starting a family business right now, two brothers, two sisters, they want their kids to take in. The kids are like, I don't want to do that at all. So what should the founder of the company start thinking about longer term to guarantee the success and the legacy of a company nowadays?
I would say the sooner you get the next generation involved in the business, the higher chances of them continuing it further, because just because you're exposed to it at a much earlier age. So I think that really helps develop your thought process towards continuing your family business.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say it's very, very important to have trust in a family business. Of course, I mean, and that's the good part and the bad part about family business is that you can trust your family, your brothers, and your father blindly. But that also is a negative because you could also be taken for a ride if you have no idea. As like say for example, my partner. It's an example, a hypothetical situation where my partner, for example, my brother is handling all the finances. I have no idea about the finances, so I could be taken for a ride.
Yeah,
that's where trust becomes a negative aspect. So you got to be really, really cautious about where you're involved and have a very strong understanding of all the finances.
Yeah,
very important.
And then with that being said, the industry in itself, more and more people are. So it's kind of weird to even ask this question because more people are shopping. They're getting things delivered to their doors, whether it's at Amazon, whether it's subscription. I mean, I feel like when I was younger, subscriptions were the only thing that you ever do. People subscribed to something and every month you knew something was coming. And then subscriptions died, but now subscriptions are back at a higher rate.
Yes.
What's old is now new. And so people are definitely more into their sneakers. They're not because like we get to be hybrid. People are dressing down a lot more. And it's not even just in the United States where casual Friday became way too casual, and it really still is. But it's more so in other countries, like the European countries where people do dress up. But now even during the pandemic, people are not as much. So where do we go from here? Because the pandemic is going to end. I mean, it's not obviously it's country to country, location to location that it's open for business, but it's eventually going to end. Good, bad, indifferent, it's going to end. What happens to the industry of the retail? Like not even just shoes, but retail overall, what happens? Because Jeff Bezos came into the picture and basically annihilated so many brick and mortars, so many family businesses, so many things. But then during the pandemic, it was a flip where there's the Amazon. Yes, I still like my Amazon, but I do enjoy going to the local and support small. The whole entire campaign, American Express, support small. So with those two big conflicts, where does the industry go from now for retail?
I think, like you said, people respected going out more during the pandemic. Respected going out to these small brick and mortar stores and supporting small businesses because they understand that everything cannot be done by an Amazon. Almost every developing country and developed countries like America, the backbone of the economy is small and medium businesses. And I think that's something that people have understood over the pandemic. I also feel retail brick and mortar is not going anywhere. Yes, the footprint might reduce.
Yep.
It will be in partnership with online sales, of course, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I still feel people love to go out, love to shop, love to see the product itself, try it on, and then purchase it. So I don't think that is changing too much. In terms of the footwear industry specifically, you go on Instagram today and you see there are maybe 10,000 brands just dumping their products onto Instagram, and that's making it very, very tough to compete, especially through these channels. So that's where you have to constantly innovate, find different marketing strategies, and reach your customer.
Who's your who's your best customer? So like if someone's listening to you right now, who's the ideal customer for your overall your brands?
The ideal customer would be a big MNC in, I would say, Belgium or Germany.
I'm sorry, you said the MNC. What's that?
Multinational corporation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys use the abbreviation here, but
I don't. The thing is, like, I always tell people that the abbreviations or the acronyms are hard because different industries use the same ones.
Absolutely.
We don't know, so that's why I wanted to just clarify.
Oh, no. Okay. So I mean by large corporations, multinationals. Okay. Yeah. That would be the ideal. Basically, I'm looking for huge volumes. Since I'm a manufacturer, I need to keep my factory working. I mean, the worst thing for a manufacturer manufacturer is an ideal workshop. So
Yep.
that would be my ideal, and who basically imports to other brands. Basically, so I work in terms of an OEM manufacturer. So I brand the product for brands and pass it on to them.
I remember when during my MBA we went to China, and then there was like a pile of socks in the factory that we were in, and there's like one socks were here, one socks were there, and I'm like, what's the difference between the socks? And they were like, nothing. I'm like, why are they separated? They're like, those socks are going to Louis Vuitton, and those socks are going to a equivalent of a Kmart. And I'm like, what? Same socks? I'm like, same socks, but different audience. The people that go to Kmart aren't going to go to Louis, and the people that go to Louis that will not go to Kmart, and they'll never know the difference. You're paying for the logo, you're paying for the name brand, you're not paying for the socks.
That's exactly where my family and I see our company heading. We wanna make a conglomerate of brands catering to different segments, different demographics, at of course different price points. I think that's going to be our eventual goal. Something like an LB, for example.
With what?
Something like an LB, for example, the group. Yeah.
So with that being said, clearly there are so much counterfeit that's happening in the world. And I always giggle because when someone says like, oh, well, that's counterfeit, I'm like, well, technically, they're like, that's counterfeit coming from China. I'm like, well, technically it was made in China. So technically it's not counterfeit. It's the same exact bag. It just doesn't have the tag or it has a backwards tag. So with all of that, how do you keep your margins where they should be? How do you keep the customer happy, the big customer happy, when there's so much counterfeit globally and they can't keep up with it anymore?
What I feel is if China is counterfeiting your products, you already are in a good place, to be honest, because you've already made it big enough for someone to be copying you. I think
that is actually true.
Yeah, so I mean, that's how I look at it, to be honest. And of course, counterfeiting is not going anywhere. I mean, you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, but how does a company deal with that? Because you hear about startups and small businesses where they meet with investors and they're like, well, we need you to sign an NDA. I'm like for me as a mentor, I'm like, I'm not signing one because I don't care about your products. I go, I'm a marketing person. I go, my number one priority is to make sure that you can sell your product so well that your competitor can't. So if you want me to sign that, I can, but I won't, and thus I'll just walk away. So it is one of those moments like, how are you dealing with that? You're trying to market your product, and yet there's all these competitors out there, and then on top of that, you have the counterfeiters.
You just got to keep engaging with your customers, I would say. Just like constantly provide value, constantly provide information that they're looking for, content that they're looking for. It should not, I mean, you just have to keep them engaged, I would say. Like provide content that is some, like, for example, I always, in terms of education, I always provide content that shows how to take care of your footwear, how do you take care of leather itself. So these kind of things build a relationship with your customer, and that I think deters them from going towards the cheaper counterfeits.
When you were in school, undergrad, because again, Babson focuses on entrepreneurship, but you're in your undergrad. What did other students gravitate towards you because they knew of your family's business and they just wanted to get that knowledge from you? Because you had all this knowledge, it was embedded in you from the day that you were born. It was embedded in you, things that you can't learn in a classroom.
Yes.
How were you perceived within your classmates? Although you weren't, and again, you mentioned that you weren't in the business. Your family kept you at bay so that you could enjoy your childhood, but you can't help but hear the conversations at the dinner table or breakfast. You can't help but when your family functions, it comes up in conversation. So you can't avoid it because it's part of the business. Your mother, I mean, and before I continue, was your mother in the business or outside the business?
Outside the business.
She's outside the business. So, yes. So now she has 3 boys that she's raising. She has the husband that's in the business. The business is inside the house. So this is a twofer. How did you contend with your classmates, knowing that they knew what business you came from? But also, how did your mother keep peace in the house? Because she's raising 4 men in her house.
And now, a message from our sponsor. Since 2017, the Foundation for Business Equity has existed to support Black and Latinx-led companies in reaching their full potential by providing access to critical growth tools that include expanded networks, capital, and markets. To learn more about the Foundation for Business Equity, FBE, visit fbequity.org. And now, back to our guest.
To answer that, I'm going to send her your number. You can ask her yourself, to be honest. I have no idea. And in terms of college, I never discussed too much of my business with my counterparts. It was more focused on learning in class. And like I said, it was accounting and finance, not got to do anything with my business. So not.
But there's accounting and finance in a business.
Yeah. Of course. So there were, of course, in class when discussions happened, there were times when I put my case across, brought up examples from my learnings, what my father's been speaking to his accountant, for example, but I overheard. So that way I did add value to the class as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to know when you are ready to start your own business, what do you want to do? What's that goal now? Because you've been in retail for quite some time. Do you continue on the next leg of retail, or is it something so far out of the gate that's dramatically different? And do you do it, where do you want to do it? Do you want to have a global company like your family's business? Or do you want to, I don't know, pick a location?
It's a tough question and I don't have an answer yet, to be honest.
Why? Look, you did so good with so many of the other questions I asked you. What do you mean?
No, what I mean is I would like to diversify this business into different product lines. Yes. But I also look at it, I also want to stem out into a software as a service company. I feel the footwear industry needs these kind of softwares to basically handle the CRM, handle samples, handle the stocks. Basically, they're not a specific, a software that is catered towards the footwear manufacturing industry. And I feel that's where I can learn from America, which is much ahead in terms of innovation as compared to India. Learn from there and get my learnings back and start something in, like I said, a software as a service for footwear manufacturers.
That's amazing. So it would be, and again, we're just talking because it's not there yet. But so you would still stay in the same industry because you know the industry so well.
It's because I've done my research there. I know how the industry works. So I think it's just simpler for me to focus there more and start a service in that industry itself.
How did you, obviously you're adding more knowledge to yourself. You did go home. How did you take care of yourself? How did you take care of yourself during this time? How did your family take care of the business at this time, the employees at this time? Because that whole entire concept of working hard to survive, and I always let work-life balance doesn't exist because one takes up your time and the other one doesn't. So that balance never happens. But how were you able to take care of yourself, your family, and as well as the individuals that are working for you?
Yeah, the pandemic gave me a lot of time to focus on myself, my personal growth, to be honest. I heard a lot of podcasts in terms of business and on topics like business, spirituality. I think that kept me sane, sitting at home the whole day, to be honest. I also was able to lose about 20 pounds during the pandemic. So that's... must be nice. You lost, I gained. It's the energy, right? It's got to shift somewhere. So yeah, and in terms of the business, things were fully shut down. We just had to stay positive, to be honest. It was just more of maintaining that mind frame that yes, this is temporary. We will go back to work. We will be able to do what we started. What we want to do. And during all this, you of course have to take care of your employees because most of our employees have been with us from the inception of the company. So they're like family. So you got to take care of them, even if you're in a tough spot. They're in a tougher spot. So you have to think of them first.
Oh my God, I love that so much. It's kind of weird because we are just talking, and yet an entire hour has gone by.
Oh wow, is it?
I'm looking at the time and I'm like, how is that even possible? So
Yeah, we were supposed to talk for 40 minutes. Wow.
and this is why, like, when you're emailing, like, I'm nervous. I'm like, why? It's just me. I mean, you don't know me, but still, like, it's just me.
It's just something I've never done before. That's why.
Well, and this is why I'm doing it, because small businesses globally need to be heard.
Yeah.
You need to be heard.
Absolutely.
And you shouldn't just get this much time to talk when you've made billions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's how you made the billion that is more important than when you made the billion. Yes.
Exactly. And while you're on the journey, you should be part of the conversation. And so
Absolutely.
me, I wanted to make sure that, like, I go, let's talk to you now, because maybe when you're a billionaire, you won't want to talk to me. So
definitely. That will definitely not be the case, Jodi.
All right. So I end the same, because no matter how many times I have you on the podcast, I will always end the same way, because people that own businesses don't ask for themselves, they ask for the business, but sometimes they don't ask for the business. So my last question to you, Akshay, is if you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask?
Professionally, currently, I've just got done with my MBA. I'm looking to pursue a job or a great opportunity in the United States, learn from my experiences, take all those experiences and go back to India and start something of my own. Like I already mentioned, hopefully something in SaaS, software as a service, for the footwear industry. Personally, I think I would like someone to help me be more spiritual. I don't know if that's a good ask, but that's something that I'm not really done a good job at yet. Or maybe I don't know what needs to be done to be more spiritual, which I would like to be eventually.
Well, see, that's a perfectly good ask. And this is why I tell people, ask whatever you want to, because I've had people say, like, I want to find a husband. I'm like, okay, there you go. There's one right there. Asking for spiritual. There's like one of the women that I spoke to, she was so cute. She's like, I have a teenager son. He doesn't listen to me. Tell me, is there a book out there that I just like something? Because I will talk to him and I can see his eyes just like glossing over, like the words are going through his ears and out. And I'm like, he's not listening. My sweet little boy is no longer listening.
Yeah.
So
it's not even necessarily spirituality. It's just having that sense of calm and peace in yourself. You don't have to term it spirituality. Just finding methods, like I said, meditation really helped during the pandemic. Just certain things like those, like activities that I could do to basically develop myself better in those terms.
So one of the things for me that I've been doing, so I learned how to speak English at a young age. So we spoke French or Haitian Creole in the house. And I was having a tough time in school getting the English language perfectly. And so my cousin gave me a camera and said, he goes, you could tell stories, because when you're not worried about reading it or talking proper English, because you know how to speak English. He goes, but because you're just getting things mixed up. He goes, so you could tell a story. So go out, here's a camera, and back in the day, here's a roll of film. Here's a camera, go and take pictures. You'll develop it, and I'll come back, and you're going to tell me a story of each picture. I'm like, I go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, since I was 8, I mean, that's all I do. People laugh at me because they always know me with a camera. It's like my pacifier. The camera is always with me. So for me, during the pandemic, I would go for runs, but the world is beautiful. There's always beauty. I tried to do my brother lives in Dubai. He works for a consulting firm in Dubai, and he started meditating. And I tried, and like, nope. He's like, get the Calm app. I'm like, nope. It didn't work. And then finally it dawned on me, my meditation is taking pictures. The world is quiet. I don't do it with other people. I see things. There's ladybugs. Like, I see the smallest of things. I see the details in flowers that I wouldn't do if I'm moving fast. And so I allow myself that moment of really focusing on taking a picture of this thing. And that's my meditation. But it took me years.
You said it absolutely right. I mean, people believe that meditation is sitting on the floor with your eyes shut for hours and hours together. That's not the case. It's just where you can find your inner peace. I mean, in the moments where you can find your inner peace, that's what is important.
But it took me years. Because no one described it this way. Like, so you just described it and no one described it. And they would say inner peace, but I'm thinking they never said inner peace in other things.
Yeah.
They said inner peace, but inner peace, period, not ... Like, I didn't know what it was. So I think that's like, I mean, so I really found it where if I'm at the computer and I'm feeling stressed out, I go and I make a soup. I'm the enjoyment of cutting carrots or cutting and making something. So it's just like a calm. The garden, when you see people like making a garden, but all those things are that piece. Painting. Now I get it, but I'm also 52 years old and I just finally got it.
Yeah.
So now I'm telling everyone, I go, I'm going to teach you right now what you should do now, so that way you don't have to wait till you're 50 to figure out and say, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So pick one of those things. There's so many things out there. Just pick a thing and just go for it.
Got it. Deal.
All right, and one of the things that I am excited about, because I did say that I can't wait to buy a pair of shoes because they're beautiful. I mean, they are stunning. Like, your family, you guys do great work. They're beautiful, beautiful things, and I don't see them here. Like, I mean,
they're currently not in the United States currently, but hopefully soon.
Oh my God, well, I can't wait, but I will go online and buy it. So needless to say.
You don't even need to wait for that. I'll send you a pair right along.
Oh no, we're going to sit there and work on that one, because I mean they are really beautiful. They remind me of like when you go to Haiti and people have the same thing, the slippers that they have for a very long time. I didn't know what to expect when you said go on this website, and I was like, oh my God, they're gorgeous. And I didn't know. I mean, it's not like I didn't think they were going to be like great leather. It's leather. I mean, leather bags, whatever. And I know there are people that don't like leather at all.
Yeah.
They're totally against it. But I'm also from a country where we don't waste the animal. So you buy the right. I mean, we buy the animal.
That's a good way to put it across. That's a good marketing scheme for me.
Well, no, but it's true. I mean, look. So for me, I understand the whole entire concept of when someone is vegan or vegetarian. I get that. I really do.
Yeah.
Because there are countries, especially in the United States, that there's mistreatment of the animals. There are other countries as well that do the same thing. When you are from a poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, when you have something, use all of it. There's no wasting at all because you have very little. So when we go to Haiti, in advance we order a cow, we order chickens, we order goats, because that's the meal while we're there. So whether we're there for 10 days, 7 days, we order in advance the animal.
Okay.
When we order the animal, everything is used. Everything is used. And so when I'm hearing this, I'm like, but we don't. Like when I was going to the market for my grandmother in the United States, I would go to the ethnic supermarket. They have Stop and Shops that are the ethnic ones, and there's a chicken feet, there's the rabbit. You got all of the animal, and it was always funny to me. Like, my friends can't come here with me because they would freak out.
Yeah.
They would lose their minds.
I mean,
but for us, it's no big deal.
That's the beauty of it, right? There's always a niche market for every product in the world. You just got to find it.
100%. And sometimes where I want to have things that my grandmother used to make, I can't get that at a regular supermarket. I can't get that at a Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course not.
Akshay, thank you so very much for taking time out of your day. I always say 35, 40 minutes. I always know it's more. So
no worries.
I really appreciate it, because I know that you were like, what are we going to talk about? There's a lot of things that we can talk about. So I appreciate that you taking the time to talk about it and to promote the family business, and just promoting how it is to be inside of a family that owns a business.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. Until next time, my friend.
Bye.